The Porsche Sport Podcast, powered by Porsche Center Leeds. Test drive the new Porsche Taycan and experience soul electrified.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The podcast will start.
The Porsche Sport Podcast, the only weekly podcast to bring you all the latest Porsche motorsport news and opinions. The Porsche Mobile One Super Cup, World Endurance Series, Le Mans 24 Hours, the IMSA WeatherTech Championship, Porsche Carrera Cup, the 24-Hour Series, SRO Championships, esports, and exclusive interviews. Make sure to subscribe on your chosen podcast platform. For more information and exclusive news, visit PorscheSport.com.
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Porsche Sport Podcast, because joining me today on this very special program is Nurburgring 24-hour winner Kévin Estre. And this is no ordinary show on the Porsche Sport Podcast, because today Kévin and I are going to talk through really what is one of the finest racing laps you're ever likely to see. It's lap one of this year's 24 hours of the Nurburgring, which actually in the end ended up being about 9.5 hours of the Nurburgring. But in the end, Kévin and his teammates, Michael Christensen, Lars Kern and Matteo Cairoli, got to the checkered line ahead of the rest in what was a fascinating race, even though it was shorter. Kévin, before we begin, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us on the show again. I mean, it seems like another lifetime ago that we had the Nurburgring 24 hours, but it was only 8 weeks or something like that. The life of a pro driver.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here as always. Long time ago now. Somehow it took me some time to really understand what happened and really realize, but now it's definitely soaked in, and having Le Mans soon, you forget about the success. You just think about the next race, and that's the focus at the moment.
It's interesting to me, Kévin, because I was very fortunate to commentate on the race that you won, and it was, my colleagues couldn't believe it when I said this would be Kévin Estre's first win at the Nurburgring 24 hours, and they're like, no, it can't be. Surely he's won it before, because of course, so many people have seen you drive so quickly on the Nurburgring and win races in the NLS, but this was the last box to be ticked on your CV. I mean, was that playing on your mind leading into the race and during the race, that this is one that you wanted to complete?
Yeah, for sure, because we've been close actually 2 times. One time is in 18 and one time is in 19. In 18, we've been leading with the Grello, and Romain had a crash, slipping on oil at midnight. We had 3 minutes gap. And then in 19, again with the Grello, we were leading. Then Lawrence had couldn't see a yellow flag. There was no radio communication, so he passed on the double yellow, and we had a 5-minute 32 stop and go, and we had 4-minute gap at that time. So we went back, and then we came back and tried to win it, but we didn't. We finished P2 at that race, and then unfortunately we got disqualified, but 2 weeks later, so nobody really remember. Me too, actually. So I was 2 times pretty close, but didn't win it, and it's really a race I wanted to win. Le Mans was let's say my main objective, but after Le Mans was definitely this one, quite ahead of any other race. So I was really happy to win it this year, and for sure I had always in my mind that I've came close, or let's say I was leading for 2 times, 2 years, and didn't win it. So this was in my mind again, that we should bring it back, bring it to the checkered.
And of course, with racing alongside, you and Michael have had Michael Christensen have had so much success together. And then at the end of the 2020 season, not driving together, and then you have this new program. I mean, how special was it for you and Michael? And of course, you did the majority of the last few hours. It was you and Michael doing all the driving together. I mean, tell us about that experience for both of you to win this race, and what it meant to you both as a pairing.
Yeah, it was great. It started in the winter because when Michael knew that he had no contract, he didn't know really where, or as a works driver, he didn't know really where he would drive. And then suddenly things moved on, and then we both got promoted, let's say, to the Grello, because we were not supposed to drive there earlier in the winter, and then we're really happy to for sure share the Grello together, and then Matteo and Lars, and we knew straight away after the first NLS that we had a good car. Really, we said it. We said to Porsche, to Manthey straight away, this year we have to make it count, because you don't have the possibility every year. And last year, I think, for example, was not really the year where Porsche could have won. This year there was many brands, but we were one of them, and so we gave the feeling to Porsche straight away, hey, look, we don't have to compromise anything. If we can do an extra test, we should do. And everything went on, and but it was not straightforward for sure, but we felt straight away we had the possibility, and again being together was great, as always.
It was brilliant to watch you. Well, let's get into the footage, because there is a couple of standout moments in that Nurburgring 24-hour race, and of course, as we mentioned, it was shortened a lot with almost no night running because of fog and things like that, which turned what is already very much a sprint race into a real crazy dash. And a lot of the driving between you and all of your colleagues from Audi and from Mercedes, who are all pro drivers for these factories, and how hard you guys race each other. And we're going to see when we look at the footage some of those examples. But before we play the footage, tell us about the sighting lap, the warm-up lap at the Nürburgring 24 hours, because normally, with a warm-up lap in a normal race, it's only a couple of minutes. But at the Nürburgring, you have 25 kilometers of a warm-up lap. I mean, how important is that warm-up time? Is the car completely ready to go by the end of the warm-up lap, or do you still need a bit of race pace to get it into its full window?
Yeah, the warm-up lap is a very tough one on the Nordschleife, especially under this condition, because you get the tires which you decide and your engineer decides. They are quite cold, and you go for 20-minute warm-up lap on the Nordschleife. At first, there are all the marshals and the spectators where spectators are, which are waving, and you want to wave as well because it's something special to do this on the Nordschleife, and you have to do it. I have the feeling I have to do it, but I have to warm up the tire, I have to answer the engineer, tell him where's wet, where's dry, and try to remember all this. So it's a very special lap, and you wanna warm up the tire, but you don't want to use too much fuel. Because this could shorten your first stint. But you also don't want to warm up your tire since let's say from the beginning on normal condition. Otherwise, at first you'll be tired doing 25 kilometers like this and braking, and plus you might use a bit of peak on the tire. This year was a bit special because we left and it was damp. Some part of the track were dry, some part was raining, and I think there was like a cloud which was following us through the formation lap, and it was raining pretty much all the lap, but the next lap was not raining all the lap. Some places were dry, so it was a tough one, but very important formation lap to know where is wet, where can I push, where can I not push, where do I have the correct tire, and where will I struggle.
And what tire did you start on in this situation?
So now it's over, so I can say it. But yeah, we started with cut slicks. I think for the top 20, I guess there were maybe half in slicks and half in cut slicks. But this was the decision from the engineer, to be honest, because you do a recon lap just on the Grand Prix track, maybe 30 minutes before, where you anyway don't see the conditions on the Nordschleife. You don't have any footage, and the teams obviously has more indication with the radar, with maybe some people placed on track, which can help them. So they decided to go on cut slicks, and I was like, okay, I've never driven them. So they said, it worked well last year in top quali. I said, okay, well then let's do it. So yeah, it's a bit of an adventure, like always on the Nordschleife.
And tell us, Kévin, how, of course, the full slick tires for dry, but that little bit of a cut, clearing whatever moisture there is away. How did the tire behave? Did they come up to temperature quite quickly then, or what were your initial feelings of this tire that you'd never seen before?
Yeah, on the dry, or when the track is fully dry, you have a bit more movement, because for sure is a normal slick which the Michelin engineer cut with some scissors, special scissors, but himself. So it could be one engineer cut it like this, the next one cut it differently.
Wow, like old rally days.
Yeah, it is. Well, the Nordschleife is like this. You can cut wet tire a bit more. You can make some grooves. And that's how it happens. So it just get into temperature for sure a bit faster, because the rubber is moving. Where there's a cut, then both rubber are moving more on both sides of the cut, and it just help to remove the water when it's damp. So you have an advantage on the damp, but you have a disadvantage on the dry, because you miss some grip and you have some movement from the rear, from the front. So it's a compromise for sure.
Wow, it's interesting. Well, let's get started then, because what was an incredible first lap of this race, it didn't start perfectly in the first corner anyway.
It started really bad, to be honest.
So for those listening on audio, we're on board with Kévin now, and everyone is going past. The 30 number Fricadelli Porsche is going by, the Huber Porsche, the number 15 Audi. Tell us about this, Kévin.
Just a bad timing. Everybody went on power in the moment where I started to lift, and everybody passed me. Then we went to turn 1, and I chose the right line. I was kind of in the middle between this Mercedes and the Phoenix Audi, which is never great in turn 1, but everybody was quite nice, let's say, to me at that time. Then we came to the left down the hill on the Grand Prix, and I just chose the left line, which is the outside for the right after. But the Mercedes was kind of stuck in the inside, so I could pass him there. Then we go back to the Dunlop or Goodyear tire corner, and I go in the inside, and I didn't want to overtake there, but the Audi somehow missed the apex. He didn't turn in, so I just went in the inside, and the grip was there, and he was stuck on the outside, so I could pass. So there was a few passes there. I got some back of my bad start, let's say.
And do you, at that point, Kévin, when all the cars are going past you on the green flag, do you panic at that point? Do you think, or do you just think, okay, you guys go ahead, I'll catch up?
No, I don't panic, but I also don't say, you guys go ahead. It's not my style. But there's nothing I can do. The start, everybody's like, there's kind of a constant speed, but not really. Everybody is going between 80 and 90 kph, and you just go a bit on throttle, you brake a bit, you go a bit on throttle, and at the moment where I brake a bit because I was too close to the guy in front, they all went on throttle, which happened, bad timing. And so they went, and the guy behind me, which was Nico Menzel, in a Porsche, left like 100 meters behind me, and he had a run. He anticipated. He just went on power, which is not really allowed, but whatever. He went, and everybody behind him follows. So that's why I had him passing me, the guy behind, and another guy. So everything went wrong though. But I didn't panic, but I did feel good for sure.
At least it wasn't another Daytona with a BMW behind you.
Yeah, exactly. He was fine. He was far away. That's for sure.
So now we've just coming out the exit of Hochheik and onto the Quiddelbacher hole. In front, we have Frank Stippler, who is one of the best on the Nordschleife. But this bit is scary, Kévin, because Frank Stippler tries to squeeze. Now, this is so tight coming up to the Flugplatz here. If you can pause, look, that'd be super. Kévin, I mean, do you know that who's in the car in front of you at that point?
Yeah, I know. I saw him coming in, but Stippler is, let's say, he's most of the time fair, but he's a very hard guy to pass. I know, but he's never gonna put me in the wall, but he's for sure gonna defend as hard as he can to let you by, or to not let you by. And I knew this, but I had a good exit of Hatzenbach because he compromised a bit the right hand side, and I could go the left flat, which he had to lift. And then he covered the right side. So I went on the outside, and then you have this side draft, and I just went, and there the bridge is small, is narrow, and there is some concrete. The bridge is not even guardrail. It's like guardrail, then it stopped to concrete. And I was going there, and I said, I'm there, don't squeeze me more because I can't do anything. There's nothing I can do there. There's no grass even. So that's the way it is. And then he just let me the room to pass. And we are passing with maybe 220 or 200 something near the concrete. And there it starts to be wet now from Flugplatz on.
Wow.
So now it starts to be very damp, and the Lambo had a bad exit. I had a better exit than him. So we go now direction Schwedenkreuz, and now the spray start to come high, and we brake both very early. I'm on the outside, and then I feel on the turn-in that the grip is good. So I go bang, back on power, and I just overtake him on the outside, which was a good move for that, that first lap on the outside in Schwedenkreuz.
Coming back to from what you were telling me there, Kevin, about a bit with Stippler, it seemed to me that you could study and anticipate that, knowing that it's him, that he's going to be hard, but he is going to give you the room. But when you were coming through, did you know at that point that he'd seen you, or was it? Yeah. So you could go for it then.
To be honest, every guy which you're fighting with in the top 30 at the start at the Nordschleife, if you are behind the whole during 5 corners and you try to overtake them, they've seen you for sure. Yeah. You know, it's not like a small car you approach and he didn't see you 2 corners before and now you're there. You are there the whole time. And I'm lucky enough to drive the Grello, so everybody sees it in the mirror, you know.
It's always helpful for that. I mean, you've just described beautifully when coming around Schwedenkreuz, which is one of the most scary corners on the circuit. Is it completely flat in the dry?
No, not for us. I think BMW is flat. For us, we just lift a little bit. But I think this year, my minimum speed in the corner was 263 or something. So it's fast. And we come with 270 and we go with 263. So very, very little lift with the Porsche.
So at this point, to give that an impression, so it's 263 kilometers an hour, around 150 miles an hour, and then the rain starts coming down instantly. I mean,
yeah, it was, but you could see there a lot of spray from the cars in front of me, and then that's why we both brake very early. We just brake at the crest, where normally we don't brake. We just go flat and just lift a little bit while turning in. Now we brake at the crest, which is maybe 200 meters before the corner. We brake and we're kind of, okay, who is going to go in front? He's in front of me on the inside. And I kind of slow down a bit more on the entry because I don't know if he will let me room. I don't know the grip because it's just damp and I have these cut slicks, which I don't know how they are. And that's why I think I slow down a little more, turn in. And when I turn in, I feel the grip is okay. And the radius from this corner is quite constant. So I thought the grip is good. Then I go back on power and then I could carry the momentum I had on the outside.
And that was Marco Mappelli in the Lamborghini, I think it was. All of a sudden, he decided to just go for it. Luckily, it worked for it worked for him. I mean, so now we're heading up. Now we've got Julian Andlauer in front of you in the Retronic Porsche, and he's having quite a lot of big moments. Do you think? Well, first question is, do you think he's on the full slick? And also, is it something about you guys from Lyon that you're just a bit more brave than everybody else?
He's on slick, but I didn't know at that point. I knew after because I drove with the team in Spa. That's why they told me, but I didn't know. So it's like there are some part of the track where I'm better and some part of the track where he's better. Now we are coming to Kallenhard and he just closed the door on the inside. And I remember from the formation lap, that part of the track, it was not raining much. And so I remember it was less and less after Adenauer Force, it was less and less water. And we come there, he closed the door on the inside and I thought, the grip should be okay on the outside. So I go on the outside and try to just carry more speed, knowing that also he will be hard to pass, but fair, not, throwing me into the tires. And yeah, I'm glad that it worked.
Yeah, that would be a bit like throwing a big brother into the tires. That wouldn't be. You guys are from the same place and the same employer too. Normally we don't. It sounds. I can't believe we're having the discussion about going around the outside at Kallenhard because it's not something you would normally do in the dry.
No, but it's normally in the dry. The thing is that there's the differences between the cars in the same category is too small to pass somebody in this type of corner. But on the wet or on the damp, there is some differences in driver, how do you say, confidence in the tires, in the grip, everything. And there, I had the confidence and I had the better tire for this part of the track, and also maybe the better memory that it was quite dry, because at that stage in this corner the grip was not too bad. For him would have been also okay on slicks, but I remember that it was okay during formation lap. But as I said, the cloud followed us, so it could be that this was 20 minutes or 15 minutes later than we passed, so it could be that it's more wet there. But you kind of get the feeling from the grip, plus you see the cars in front of you, which speed they carry, which spray they produce, and you kind of guess the grip you have.
And is this where someone like yourself is this where mileage on the Nordschleife really, is this where you really have the value of the more laps you've done at the Nordschleife, the better? And there's, I guess, would it be right to say that there's really no substitute for the amount of mileage you get to do on this very unique circuit to handle these situations?
No, for sure. This is a corner I know that on the outside, on the wet, the grip is good, or generally the grip is always good here. This is something I remember, and I know have been doing lap there. Julien, for example, his first real wet laps were in qualifying, in the top qualifying. So he did a mega job in qualifying, but I also noticed that he's fast, but he doesn't have the knowledge of where it's going to be wet, where it's going to be dry, and maybe it's his first start at the N24. There might be more things going on, So this is also something you take into consideration when you overtake somebody. But there's also some instinct, you don't think about 100 million things when the decision you have to take is like this, you just have to, he closed the door, okay, I go on the outside and try, and many things come into play.
So now you have Raffaele Marciello in front of you, and he sees the Grello in the mirror. You can tell he knows you're there, and he sees you getting a run, and woof, over he goes. And for me, I know Raffaele got some quite nasty comments after the race, and I'm not sure if I agree with that, but here we're coming now down into Versleifen, and I call it like the pig's tail coming around here. Yeah. But tell us about this next section, because this is crazy through here.
It's the slowest corner on the Nordschleife, I would say, and he's stuck. He has the fricadelle in front of him, so he can't really brake late, and he covered the inside, and I go on the outside just to see if I can brake late enough to be beside him coming into the right, and then being on the inside for the left. And but he released a bit the brake and opened the steering wheel, and I felt like this is too risky, there's not much room there, and normally you never overtake there, so I just put it out. But also depending which driver is there, and you need to try, and show him that you are quite your intention to overtake.
So now we're heading uphill up the Kesselchen, which is full throttle in the dry, and then you go up to Mootcurve at the top, the really fast one. Yeah. Is this flat in the dry, Mootcurve?
No,
not quite.
It's in fifth gear, so either you hope you keep it in fifth gear on the limiter and just I lift a little bit, and some of my teammate brake. It's not that one is a lot faster than the other, but I feel better lifting early and being back on throttle early. So far, no, it's not flat. I think to any Edim brand is too fast there. We arrive with 250 something, and it's quite a corner. Mood means bravery in English. So it's the corner of the brave. yeah, it is.
Yeah, but it can there's a very close line between brave and stupid. So if you try to take it flat, it's too sheer. Exactly. This is the corner. When I'm on the sim, this is where I crash the most at Mootcurve, trying to do it flat. Now I know it's not flat. I won't try it again. So we're coming up the Kesselchen now. The rain is coming onto the windshield. There's water coming from the tires of the car in front. What are the most important things that you pick up on, Kévin, to try and determine the grip level? What are those calculations in your head in this situation?
Yeah, it's a combination of things, as you said, the spray, how much rain you have on the windscreen, maybe how light the steering wheel is, because all these small kink are flat, easy on the dry. On the normal wet is also flat, but having cut slicks on a damp track is not really. I think it was on the edge of being flat, or maybe being flat. I can't remember 100%. But then the next one is a kink on the left kink, which is flat, quite easy on the dry. On the wet is never flat, and it's a corner which is very slippery. And I just come in here and it seems quite dry, and I turn in, and then on the exit I get a huge moment. This was the moment from this lap I remember that this was not a nice moment. I had a hard time during the next 5 seconds, just thinking, maybe just take it easy.
It's funny, I have this in capital letters on my notes in front of me, Kevin, about there's a huge slide. I forgot exactly where it was in the straight. So it did. My question was going to be, does it feel as wild as it looks? It looked pretty wild, and it was.
Yeah, no, it is. And especially there, I think, my counter steer was maybe like this. And if I would have 5 degrees more, maybe I lose it, so it was proper fight, and also a corner where when it's damp or wet, you always see crashes there. It's the one I knew before. Actually, it's not a corner I do. It's normal, all okay, and I was surprised by the grip. I know the grip is low, but somehow I was not faster than the car in front of me. It's just maybe I had too much steering angle, or the rear tire was not as hot as they was supposed to be. So many factors, but glad that I kept it on track.
Well, it didn't take you long to recover, because now we've taken the climb up towards the carousel and then up towards Hochhaken. So, Hochacht, my apologies, up to the top of the high part of the circuit. And this is where you really get quite close to Raffaele. And, you're a hard racer, Raffaele is a hard racer. What are your tactics here? Because it seems to me like you're getting really close to the car. I mean, what are you trying to do here? Are you actively trying to pass at every opportunity, or are you trying to intimidate the driver, or what's the tactic here?
Normally you don't pass in this section on the dry, but as we said, it's a bit damp, so every driver is kind of trying to find the grip, and there is no direct dry line. Everybody is a bit offset, so I try to go on the outside and see if a bit like in Kallenhard, if I have the grip, I continue. Then here I got a very good exit of Hochacht, but then the track is going a bit like this, and you have kind of a kink. And if you stay there, as Raffaele moved over, so I had to lift. And it's all a bit of a game like this. And now we can see more rain on the windscreen. And this is one of my favorite corner, the next one, this right corner. I also try to go on the outside, see that it's not working. And now we come to the left from Brünchen, and he's very close to the Fricadelli, and this I know, and he's gonna close. So I try the outside, and this worked. What I tried before is that he can't. I'm there already on the braking, and he can't, go deeper, because the Fricadelli is there, and he can't really push me out. So I'm there, and I can carry the speed and just overtake him outside. Which overtaking Marciello in this corner is quite nice. I have to say, is a good feeling.
That's enough. I mean, to overtake anyone at Espach is impressive. But so you're waving to Fred, saying, "Thanks, Fred. That was really helpful. Thank you, my friend." But of course, you and Fred Machiavecchi, who's in the Fricadelli car in front, you guys are about to have some more fun here, because coming through. I mean, let's go on for the next section, because this is amazing. You come here through Ice Corner, the left-hander, through to the Flansgarten, and then the Beloff S's. Kevin, this must be, even in the dry, this must be incredible coming through here. What are the sensations of this part of the track?
Yeah, great grip here, proper jump with the GT3 car, taking off 4 wheels off the track. Then here the front gets very light. Now you come Flansgarten, is flat on the dry, the front just moves like this. Beloff is also fully flat, but you can see the grip is not great. Fred is not taking the apex, is very tough section. And this is my favorite corner, actually. This one, where I carry a lot more speed than Fred. I'm not sure the name though. It's just before Schwalbenschwanz, but I'm not sure. And this is quite a key corner, which somehow I like it, and it also helps you a lot to be closer to the guys for the Tingerhöhe, because because there you make the junction, and then you can try to hold it into the slipstream. Then we come to Galgenkopf, the last triple right or double right, and there you start to lose the front, and you want a good exit, because otherwise you will not get the toe. And somehow I could hold the front behind him, because you lose quite a lot of front downforce in this, especially in the second part of the corner, which is flat on a GT3 on the dry. But when you follow, it's never flat, and especially under these conditions. So I was like understeering a lot and really judging how much speed I can carry there, and being fully on the edge, because if you have a bad exit there, you're gonna be overtaken by Marciello, or if you have a good one, you can overtake the guy in front.
So even for those who are listening on audio, we're about 2 car lengths from Fred MacKay and the Fricadelli Porsche ahead. So even with this amount of gap, you still get a bit of aero wash where the front aerodynamics don't work as well.
Yeah, you get it, I would say, within 4 or 5 car lengths already.
Wow.
That's why it's very tough to. People always say, it's easy to overtake on Döttinger with the draft, but it's tough to be in the position to overtake there. You also need a car which is able to follow on the Nordschleife. And this is a part of a compromise we make when we do the setup to make sure that our car has good front downforce, maybe a bit too much when you're alone, but which compensates, especially for the Porsche, we lose quite a lot of front downforce. But it also depends which car you follow. You follow a Mercedes is a disaster, because you lose downforce everywhere. And you follow a Porsche, you lose more front downforce. So every car is kind of different. But you definitely lose quite a lot following 2-3 car lengths behind.
Wow, that's incredible, Kévin. I didn't realize it would start so early. But one thing I did notice at the end of the Döttinger hole was the Porsches. All of the Porsches seem to be very good in the draft when you get to the top gear. Was that something that you noticed from the cockpit as well?
Yeah, for sure. We get the draft correctly, and then we come quite late. I think it's the characteristic from the car. It's maybe the characteristic from the engine being high rev. Obviously, we don't have a huge torque compared to a Mercedes or BMW, which has a huge engine or a turbo engine. But therefore, we are quite good high on the rev, high end, and that's what's happening on the Nordschleife. Plus the aero setup, everything together. But definitely, we kind of, you always start Döttinger thinking, I'm gonna be too close, not close enough, and then suddenly it comes, and you're like, ooh, happy days. So yeah.
Well, I mean, you and Fred MacKay in the car in front, you and Fred have had some brilliant Talladega style drafting sessions with each other in the NLS before the 24-hour race, and here, of course, in the 24-hour race. A question for you, Kévin. We've seen you pass people in the Döttinger hole in Porsches, but also in Mercedes and BMW as well, and this quite famously in some cases. Do you get more, even if, say, for example, Fred, you're driving for Manthey, Fred is driving for Fricadelli, but you're both working for Porsche. Do you get more room from a Porsche colleague even when they're driving for another team, or is it the same for everybody?
In theory, you get more room, but we saw this year that in practice, it's not really like the theory. So normally you expect always a fair fight, and the biggest rule is, don't push another car off the track. Don't push another Porsche off the track. Don't touch another Porsche. That's the rule we have within Porsche factory drivers. But sometimes the emotion, bring drivers doing stuff which they are not supposed to do.
I can understand. I can imagine. Well, let's see this move, because it's, as you say, Kévin, it's set up back at Galgenkopf. But talk us through this, how you're setting up this move, how you make the decision to choose each side.
Yeah, now you're like, now at this time, half of the straight, I start to really get some proper toe, and he's covering a bit the left side, and then I go on the right side, take side draft, so being very close to him, and then as soon as I get the side draft, then move away to cut his side draft, and then stay on the outside, and then this time I passed him before the left corner, so before Antoniusbuche, so I could take a kind of a normal line, which was the difference compared to the NLS we had a few months before.
Where that really was a game of chicken, this one, where you were coming into Tiergarten side by side, who was going to be the bravest. I mean, we're now at the end of the lap, coming back onto the Grand Prix circuit. The first lap is complete of what at this point is meant to be a 24-hour race. We didn't know at this time we would have a shorter race. Obviously, this opening lap went incredibly well, passing a lot of cars up to near the front of the field. At this point, Kévin, especially in a 24-hour race, did you allow yourself to think ahead, thinking, okay, we're in a good spot here, or are you trying to keep present on the job in hand?
Yeah, no, for sure. I knew, well, this is the strategy we have, or every team has at the N24. You have to be at the front. You can't afford to have a too big gap to the guys in front. Starting from P11 is okay. No, 14 or where I was, whatever, 14.
11, I think. Yeah.
Oh, 11, sorry.
I think it was.
11 is not a disaster, but it's not great. And so the strategy was for sure in the first laps trying to get some position. This went a lot better than I thought because of the conditions and the tires and my confidence and many things. But at that time, now I overtook Fred, which has a mega start actually, because he was starting behind me. But on the first straight and first corner, he just made six positions or something. Now I know, okay, I'm in a good position. I didn't see the Mercedes, which was in front of me. At that time, I thought I was P3, as many guys thought watching this video. But the Mercedes, Lukas Stolz, is, I think, 6 seconds up the road. So I thought I was P3, to be honest. But doesn't matter, P3 or P4. And yeah, you just feel good because you did a mega first lap and now you have the right basis to start the 24 and try to win it.
What were they saying to you on the radio at this point, Kévin? What are they trying to help you with the weather conditions, or do they stay quiet?
I think they stayed quiet because there was no, if there is a lot of rain coming at one corner and they say, oh, look, Tiergarten is fully wet, blah, blah, they would tell. But on Döttinger for sure, we always said on the radio, Döttinger all okay, tires are correct for the conditions. And there they probably answered, yeah, all good. But I can't remember a special message though. But yeah, that's the way it is. Normally the engineer keeps you updated on what is important for you. It means if there is a code 60 somewhere, if there is some big rain, if the track is fully dry suddenly. But there was nothing really to say. Just keep your head down and keep going.
Keep doing the same thing. I mean, fast forwarding to the end of the race, we've watched the opening lap now, which has been incredible to talk that through with you, Kévin. But I was lucky enough to be in the commentary box when on the closing laps and you're coming in, and I felt so sorry for your lovely wife Caroline, who's trying to keep calm, coming to the end of this race. But Tommy, he was fast asleep. He wasn't interested. Your son, he was just like, oh, what's all the fuss about?
He's never sleeping at that time of the day normally. And Caro said somehow he got very very calm and he just wanted to stay in her arms and fall asleep, which was very, very strange. So maybe he felt she was nervous. I'm not sure all these things are sometimes a bit special, but definitely he was really easy. He took it easy. Caro was shaking for sure, as I know her, but he was sleeping, which was good for her in the end.
He almost looked a little bit grumpy to be woken up for you getting back to Parc Fermé.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think he saw some cars, then it woke him up a little bit.
And tell us about that afterwards, after the race, Kévin, because it's even though the race didn't run to the full length, the 24-hour race, there's always a big relief afterwards. I mean, tell us about, did you get a chance to celebrate after the event with the team and the mechanics, or was it straight home afterwards?
Not straight home, but we didn't really party because of Corona. You're not allowed to, to have too many people in the lounge, to have too much groups, the mask, everything. It was a bit of this is what we miss having the COVID around, because this is a huge achievement for everybody. Even if the race was 9.5 hours, it felt like a 24 proper on the body and on the mind, because the last the last 3.5 hours were crazy. The intensity we raced there was definitely worth 12 hours of driving, really. I did the restart, and after the fourth, I think we did 5 laps, and I pitted after the 5th lap, and I came out of the car, and I was like, fuck, they want me to do double stint at the end. I'm dead. I don't know how I'm gonna make it, and normally we do eight laps on the normal stint, and because the intensity was so high, and you just fight everything. You have wets, you have traffic. We are just driving 100% every lap on the Nordschleife, and that's why so many crashes happened, because we were just pushing like hell. And that's why it was a proper joy to win this race. But yeah, we had a few beers, or I had a few wines because I don't like beer, but the guys had a few beers with us, and we all spoke, and it was very nice. But it ended up, I think, Michael Christensen and myself being at the Lindner at the bar alone around 11 or 11:30, having some drinks, and then we went in the hotel. So not a wild party, but hopefully we can get it in the end of the year with the Manta guys.
That's it, yeah. But save it up for one big party. You never know. You might have some more to celebrate by the end of the season. One thing, of course, Kevin, we maybe haven't mentioned of looking through this clip of this opening lap is that this is obviously a crazy piece of footage of as you mentioned, how intense the race is. But of course, this is one of the only laps in the whole race where you have no traffic, no other slower classes, no Dacia Logans to worry about in this clip.
Yeah, it comes in the next lap, so it comes quite fast. But yeah, it's I've had the chance to start on pole twice, or to start from the pole twice in this race. One time I did the pole, and one time Lawrence did it in the Porsche in 2018, and it's fantastic to be first one lap, leading the race, having no traffic, all the spectators around. Is like this is a proper thing for your ego. You feel great at that time, and the first lap is always great. But there, to be honest, I was so focused on knowing, where was damp, where not, where I can overtake, where not, that I just forgot about the traffic. I just drove, tried to overtake any car which was ahead of me, even if it would have been a GT4, would have been the same. That's the mood, the way of thinking you have in this sort of starting lap.
I can now understand more, Kevin, how you mentioned how tiring it must be to drive on the limit at the Nurburgring specifically. I can understand that completely now. I mean, before we finish, of course, you've got the Nurburgring 24 hours, a race which you hadn't won before this great day a few months ago, but heading into Le Mans this year, it's one that you have won before, leading the championship as well. It's been a great WAC season so far. What are your thoughts heading to Le Mans, to the big one?
Wow, my thoughts are that I'm really happy to be there again. It's going to be my 7th Le Mans. With a very strong team, as we showed this year in WC and the previous years. To be honest, I think we won in 18. We could have won in 19 in terms of pace, but we had an issue. 20 was not great in terms of performance and issues. But now this year we feel ready. We feel that everybody learned from their mistakes. We think we have a good chance. But the competition is gonna be tough. There's less cars than they have been in the last 2-3 years. But we saw in WC having 4 cars the last race in Monza produced a great show, and it was one of the hardest race to win, Monza, having not more than 6-second gap between the first and the second the whole race, without safety car, or with one safety car, but even without would have been the same. So this is something very special we have in the WC, and I hope it's gonna be the same in Le Mans, and we're gonna end up on the top step.
Let's hope so. And of course, what are your thoughts about Corvette coming back? Because this is a big question mark, because they have a car that's never been to Le Mans before. It's only done a couple of WEC races, but in the US, the car has been dominant. I mean, what do you think the Corvette will be like when it gets to Le Mans from your perspective?
You always have to count on Corvette on any track, and Le Mans especially. Since I'm driving in a GT, there's never been a year where they've not been competitive. For sure, it was the old car. Now is a new one. But as you said, straight away they won the championship in IMSA with the new car. They won Daytona this year. They won a lot of races, and their car seems to be reliable, are reliable enough to win a 24. So why not Le Mans? But as you said, it's a big question mark, because Le Mans is a very special track, very special BOP, and it's tough to get it on point for the first year from the FIA SEO. We saw it last year with our car, having the first year of the RSR 19. So to be honest, I don't know. I think we have to count with them for sure, because they are a great team and great drivers. And I hope it's gonna be tight. I hope we're gonna have some fun, having a good pack of 3 different manufacturers and having a good fight, putting a good show for the spectators on site and in front of the TV. And if Porsche win, would be great. If it's our car, would be better.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. And one thing I forgot to ask: is there any plans for a special livery this year, or it will be the normal World Championship livery?
No, it would be the normal livery.
Okay.
I think Porsche wanted to do a small stop or a break with a special livery, just because it has to be special. And if we do it every year, it's not so special anymore. But it might come back in a few years for sure. But now this year it's going to be the normal livery. Therefore, you're going to have two extra Porsche Pro car running by other teams with different liveries. So it would be fun to watch for sure.
And I remember when you told me about 2018, that the pressure of running the Pink Pig and all the executives saying, you must win. I'm sure it'll be much easier now with the normal colours.
Yeah, exactly. Only the colour makes the difference.
Well, Kévin, it has been an absolute pleasure to talk through this incredible lap of the start of the Nurburgring 24 hours and what went on to be an incredible win. Like you said, one of the most intense motor races I think any of us have ever seen. Certainly to watch, it was so intense to watch. I can't imagine what it was like in the cockpit, but you've given us a great impression of what it was like. And congratulations on the big win, and all the best of luck for Le Mans next week.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
The Porsche Sport Podcast, powered by Porsche Centre Leeds. Test drive the new Porsche Taycan and experience soul electrified.